Okay.
There we go.
Hi, everyone. I'm
Hi.
here with the beautiful Tanya Beaubrun.
Beaubrun, yes.
I've known her for a while, but I've never said her last name out loud. So I'm learning it today. So Tanya is a doctor. She's an integrative family physician. And she also empowers women to live full and vibrant lives. She's an empowerment coach. And she, after being a doctor for many years, she decided and had the realization that to heal, you need to work on every aspect, on your body, on your mind, on your soul, on your life. So she had to take the big leap into changing. Yeah, it's very, very courageous what you did. I was just reading your website and I just loved what you wrote, your story, and how you had this realization that you needed to do this, but you were scared of putting it out there for so long, for being judged, because that's not the way doctors are trained, right?
Yeah, it's certainly not Western medicine, no.
Right, exactly. So you kind of kept your voice hidden inside for a long time. Then you started kind of putting it out there a little bit for yourself, like writing it down in journals and things like that, what your dreams were, what you really wanted to do. And it was quite a process to get to the point where you finally came out with who is the real Tanya, what am I really passionate about, and now you are living your real purpose and helping people the way your heart wants to help people.
Yes, that's it. That's a great way of putting it, really. How my heart is, where my heart and soul truly lies in that purposeful work that I'm doing.
Right. It's it's such a great example, because so many women are scared of making a big change in their life at any age, let alone if you've had a practice or a kind of life that has been set for so many years. And then taking that leap to change is just so courageous. So you're just a great example. So today I want to talk to Tanya about using our voice, because as I just mentioned, she had to go through a long process to really put her voice, her true voice, out there in the world. And that really resonates. Tanya and I have kind of similar challenges in life in some ways, because I also have had to work on using my voice. I mean, even doing this video right now, this is something I would have never dreamt of doing even 1 year ago. I was so scared of speaking in public and just using my voice for most of my adult life. And I had to go through a pretty traumatic medical experience that literally took my voice away. I couldn't speak for months, to understand its value and really be like, you know what, fuck everything, I don't care, I'm going to use it no matter what. You know, this is there to be used, and use it or lose it, which is what happens.
Which is what I think so many more women, I think, than men, we live lives based on what we think the world expects of us. And it's many voices in our heads that could be something somebody said to us when we were a child, or something that a teacher said, and we just think, you know what, it gets right in here, deep inside, really. And not many people actually realize that they are actually living other people's lives.
Exactly. It's just like that. Like for me, I've started little by little having flashbacks of the moments in my life when somebody told me, like, oh, you can't sing well, or oh, shut up, you know. And they're small moments, but if you're a sensitive person, they start adding up, and then before you know it, you are not really being yourself. So could you please share your own story with your health related to not using your voice?
So I would say almost just about 12 years ago, I developed a cough. I didn't even realize I had it. It was just almost, it was right in the throat, or just the upper part of my chest, and it was almost like a tickle in the back of my throat, and I'd be coughing. And I kept thinking that there was something there that I had to get out of. And eventually I had to do something, because my staff in my office says, you know, you're really coughing a lot. I wasn't even aware of it. It became almost like my friend. So I would cough and just be just totally unaware that I was coughing so much. So being the good doctor, I treated myself with cough syrups. I thought I was wheezing, thought I had adult onset asthma, and a few times it worked. So I figured I was on the right track. Eventually, I got bronchitis. I had to be seen by a colleague. And I said, you know, I have this cough. It's just not going away. And he said, okay, you need to have bronchoscopy. You need to have a look in the lungs, because I had been exposed to secondhand smoke as a child, so you just never knew. I'd done the x-rays, so I knew everything was clear. I then had a bronchoscopy, which I will tell you I will never have again, and I will never put a patient through unless it's absolutely necessary. They found nothing. I had endoscopies. I had everything. I had tubes pushed up, down, sideways. I had x-rays done. I had MRIs done. I had scans done. I did everything. And one day I ended up in hospital. I was really stressed, and it normally would get worse whenever I was stressed. You'd think that something would click, right? But it didn't. So I ended up in hospital, and it was I think that, you know, you have some pivotal moments in your life. That day was really pivotal. I was scared that something was going to happen to me. And they gave me painkillers, because after weeks of coughing, your chest really hurts. And the painkiller has a sedative, and I fought it. I wouldn't go to sleep, because I thought that if I fell asleep, something would happen to me. So I was literally going outside all the time. And instead of my colleagues realizing that I was scared, that something was wrong, they started to pinpoint and say, just make comments about my behavior. It was erratic. If I was, you know, what was I on? Why wasn't I responding? And there was no sense of compassion or empathy from my colleagues at that moment. And that night I said, you know what, I'm going home. I don't want to be here. I'm going home, because I'm probably going to get better care at home. Somebody's always home to watch me. I was really scared. And I think I was overtired, so I was not thinking clearly. But I knew that something was wrong with me, but it wasn't necessarily that it was thing. But I really thought that if somebody didn't watch me, something would happen. It was an irrational thought, but I was scared, and I had to it was just what it is.
Like a panic attack, sort of?
You know, maybe it was something like that, a form of an anxiety attack. But that day, when I got home, and thinking back on how they looked at me and how they thought, I thought, you know what, if I were a patient, I knew that that's not how I wanted to be treated. And I knew that I would not treat a patient that way to the best of my ability. And I made a commitment then that I would always, always show compassion and empathy to the patients to the best of my ability. Because the looks that I had been given by my colleagues, I knew I was guilty of having given patients in the 20-something years I had practiced. I knew. But it was a pivotal moment. It made me realize that what patients need more than anything else is understanding, compassionate care. They sometimes need a hug. And I remember telling one of my colleagues, I said, that day I came in, if you had just held me and hugged me and told me everything was going to be all right, I probably wouldn't have needed that extra nebulization. Because I knew somebody cared, and I made a commitment to myself that I would do that for my patients even more than I was doing before. And I knew then that it was an aha moment for me, knowing that I had to show patients the love and compassion that I knew I would have liked then. And that was a big moment. But later that week, I started to say, you know what, I need to heal myself, and I need to find out what's going on, because something deep inside kept telling me that there was something beyond the physical going on, and I needed to explore it. Now, I hadn't gone deep into integrative medicine, but I had read a lot about meditation. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to meditate and I'm going to journal. And then one day it just came to me. You're not using your voice, and you're actually literally being choked from inside because you're choking on your voice and your truth. And almost it was like, and it was thoughts, you know, you get flashbacks. I remember as a child, my cousins and my mom, and they said, you talk too much, stop talking. You're always the center of attention. You know, you talk too much. You're always there. You always have something to say. My aunt would say, you always have something to say. You always have an answer. My mother would tell me, you always have an answer. Everything I tell you, have an answer. And as a result of having heard these words as a child, I started to use my voice in the way that I thought they wanted me to. So I realized that I was living a life based on what the world told me I should be doing. What as a doctor I should be doing. I was trained in Western medicine, so you should be practicing medicine. There's a pill for every ill. And I began to realize from my experience that that healing takes place on 3 levels: physical, emotional, and spiritual. And that in order for me to experience healing, I had to dig deep into the physical. I had done that. I explored everything, so that was clear. I had to dig deep into the emotions, and that's what I was doing with journaling and meditation, and spiritual as well with my meditation and prayer. And as I started to speak up and speak out, the cough actually grew less. It's never gone away because I think there's so many things that over 30, 40 years that I have left to say. But honestly, I started to just speak. I was just frank, and I started to write. And that's when I think I got the biggest release. I wrote an article, how this family physician became the belly dancing, bachata loving seeker of joy. And the words
I love that.
I remember that. And it was really how I had found joy from belly dancing and bachata. But when I wrote that, I looked at that article and I thought, wow, this is good. This is really good. But I was afraid, and I kept it. I just wrote it on a piece of paper and I left it. About a month later, I was actually, less than a month, I was sitting next to one of the journalists at home, Rick. We were at a function, and I just whispered, so, I wrote something. I know you, just have a look and tell me what you think. The next day he called, he said, this is good, this is going in the paper. And I'm like, no, this is not for the paper. This is, But his validation that my words were good enough, actually better than good enough, and that it could serve a purpose and it could help change somebody's life and that way heal them, was another pivotal moment for me. I knew that I could heal patients with my words as well, by writing, by speaking out, and by speaking the truth that of everything I had learned over 30-something years of life. That was almost 40 years of that. But it was really coming to a place of acceptance of who I was, acceptance of the talkative, chatty, always have an answer little girl inside of me. And also coming to the point where I knew that I could no longer practice Western allopathic medicine on its own. I felt really stifled every time I wrote a prescription, knowing that I hadn't done enough. I was curing them of their physical ailment, but I was not truly healing them because they came back. Another pivotal moment was being at the bedside of one of my patients. He'd been a patient for over 20 years, and he was dying. And I looked down at him and said, this is a really wonderful death. He's surrounded by family. He knows we care. I'm still tending to him at this moment in his life. And then I realized that I just felt that I had not done enough for him during the years by simply writing and filling out his prescriptions. And yes, we had some great consultations, but I realized that I had written the same prescription for him for over 10 years. And what I had done on his deathbed was more healing than the prescriptions, in the sense that I remember holding his hands, and I remember he saying his feet were cold. So I went to the bottom of the bed and I started to rub his feet. And I thought by tending to that aspect, tending to his emotions, tending to that was actually even more important than the prescriptions I had written for him for so many years. And that's when I realized that I was doing my health coaching, and I so wanted to do more. And I found this deep desire to learn as many healing modalities as I could. I did metabolic and nutrition medicine. I did a fellowship in that. And then I wanted to do something more. So now I'm doing a degree in integrative medicine.
Amazing.
But it is a journey. It has taken me a long time to get to this point. And now I think in following my soul's purpose, I have actually been, and living my truth, I'm actually starting to feel better. I don't cough as much. There are still times when there may be an allergy or something and I will cough, but I certainly don't cough as much as I did then. And when I start to cough, I start to look, okay, am I overtired? Am I overworked? What's happening to me? Am I not eating properly? Am I stressing about something? And it's like my radar, it tells me, as my GPS, look,
right,
you're going the wrong way. You need to do something about it. It's been an incredible friend. And I remember saying one day I would pay anything for the cough to go. But now that I'm speaking to you, I realize that the gift that this cough has given me has been so life-changing that I'm actually ready to pay the cough and say, you know what, I'm really happy that you came into my life because you have changed my life.
I feel exactly the same way. I have this huge growth in my throat that I had to get removed by surgery. It was like the size of a fruit. And, it's a traumatic experience that nobody would want to go through it, especially the surgery and all that wasn't as traumatic as living all those previous months without being able to talk properly, feeling sick, feeling like a freak. But now my life has been transformed so much thanks to it that I literally am so thankful that this happened to me. So could you share how speaking your truth has transformed the way you feel? Because for me, it's like I feel happier, I feel more confident, I trust the future more. I feel I can take bolder decisions because I know I'm being guided. I even feel more beautiful,
Well, you remember when you met me, I had significantly more hair on my head. And I think it's been the journey of living my truth and speaking out in accordance with what I know is right has freed me. I feel there's a sense of freedom. There's a sense of joy and contentment now. Because I remember telling somebody, if I die today, I have spoken to almost everybody and told them how I feel. When I turned 45, that's 4 years ago, I wrote 45 letters of thanks to 45 people who had made a difference in my life.
That's beautiful.
And I wrote the letters. And of course, everybody thinks, well, she's dying. She has cancer. And I had to then write a cover letter because I knew they'd say that and said, I am not dying. I'm not sick. I'm not going crazy. I just want you to know how much whatever you did for me made an impact on my life and how grateful I am. And my parents, my siblings. So I did that. And the response of people were really strange. Some people hugged me, some people cried. But I knew that I had said what I had to say. And 2 days after that, I had sent a letter to my aunt and my uncle had read it. And he says, nothing is wrong with her. And my nickname is Bubbles. And she said, she's just been Bubbles. And he died 2 days later.
Wow.
He died 2 days later. And it was a day later. He died within 48 hours of reading it. And I looked at him when, at the bed and I thought, this guy got me. He got me. He knew how I felt. He knew I was grateful and he got me. He didn't question if I was sick. He just said, that's just Bubbles being Bubbles. And I couldn't cry. I couldn't cry because I knew we'd had closure. I had told him everything that, they had done for me as a child and even in my adulthood and how grateful I was. And there it was. And I realized that it was in speaking the truth is liberating. It's extremely healing. And it's joyful. So now my new program is called, and everything, and my tagline and everything is Rediscover Your Body Joy. Because a lot of people are not discovering the joy of being in their bodies. Many, many people are outside. They're living in outside their heads or within the computer or their cell phones. They're not living inside the bodies and not in tuned enough with what the body's trying to tell them. So it's rediscover. And just a few weeks ago, I was sitting in St. Lucia, and I was just looking out at the most amazing view of the pitons. And I remember thinking, this is joy. This is body joy. The other thing in speaking my truth is that I lost weight. Now, I wasn't overweight really, but my body seemed to settle into a weight that is comfortable. And a lot of people are remarking, you look different. You've lost so much weight. I wasn't trying to lose the weight really. It really wasn't. What it was once I shifted in my head and I shifted the thoughts that I spoke and the words that I spoke out, and I started living more in accordance with what was my truth, a lot of things kept falling off. So I just knew I had to cut my hair. I was tired one day of tending to the hair and getting it straightened and so on. I'm like, you know what? I don't need that anymore. That's not what my life is about. And the liberation I felt as I chopped off the hair was one more level. I wrote more. I spoke out more. I gave talks to people. I started telling people, the joy that you have of living your truth, nobody can give that to you. Only you can do that. And that's where I'm at now. I actually was doing Facebook live streams and I stopped for almost a month because I had to process what this another shift that was going on. And over the years, I've had, you get a lot of shifts in your life. And I've found that when you're going through a deep shift, it's time to just pull away and process it and get back into your body and process the shift. And the shift was the body joy shift. It was the body joy method, the body joy mindset, really, of how just doing that shifted weight off my mind, it shifted weight off my body, it shifted weight off my spirit. Yeah. And that was the most incredible gift I got recently from this cough. And it's the gift that keeps on giving, really.
I love that. It's so true. And I feel the body joy myself. It's, as you say, it's something nobody else can give you. And we're looking for it in all kinds of different ways and numbing ourselves with like alcohol and food and distractions because we are not our truth, this joy. So when we speak our truth, this joy starts just coming out.
It bubbles up. And I remember telling people, it like literally bubbles up. It bubbles up. And people say, you've changed. And I'm like, I haven't changed. I just became me.
Exactly. You became yourself again.
I became myself again. And there is a lot, and there's joy versus happiness. Happiness, I think, is fleeting. Joy is something that stays with you on a level where, you go outside, and I think I look at the clouds and I find they're bluer than I ever saw. The trees are greener and the flowers are even more brilliant. Everything I see now, I'm grateful for. Even when I'm going through bad patches, I'm trying to feel the bad feelings too, because that is what life is. You have to feel the good, feel the bad, feel the sad, feel the triumphs and the tears and everything. And we have to continue doing that. And that is what it means by being in our bodies. It's about balancing, and the doctor in me still comes out where we need to balance our hormones and balance the foods we eat and what we put into our mouths. But it's also what we put into our bodies when we exercise. And we find an exercise that brings us joy. So for me now, it's bar exercises and TRX suspension exercises. In about an hour, I'll be going to, and I'm all excited about it. But these are the little things that if we start to examine our lives closer, and we start to realize that everything can bring some element of joy. And that's where I am. Even the sad moments have a little element. I went through a patch last year where I had an incident where it wasn't very pleasant, but I had to live through it. And at the end of it, I realized that it in itself had given me the gift of letting go of outcomes.
That's great.
So it's the joy of being in your body and speaking the truth is I mean, you can't put a price on that, really.
Right. I wanted to talk about that as well, because you mentioned how you send all these letters to your loved ones and you had mixed reactions.
Yeah.
And speaking your truth, and that's why so many people don't do it, is because they're scared of the feedback they will get. And speaking your truth, learning to really be your authentic self, has a lot to do with letting go of expectations.
Yeah.
The way others react is not your business. Your business, you were put in this world to be the highest, the truest expression of you, because nobody else can do it better than you, right?
Yeah.
How others react, that's their problem. And you have to get over that fear of displeasing or of getting, negative feedback from that, right?
Yeah. It is something that I think everybody has to want to get to. You have to be committed. The first step is acknowledging that you are not speaking your truth, and not many people can do that, because then it means you have to then say, start to look at whose truth am I speaking. And it could be very painful. It was very painful for me when I remembered as a child my cousins slapping tape across my mouth at a party because they thought I was talking too much.
Wow.
I had to go through all these painful memories. My aunt and my parents always comparing me to my cousin, who was quieter and more dainty, and I was plump, and I would just be there in the middle of everything, and I would be speaking, and I was not quiet about it, and it was always, get out of the way, you're talking too much, you always have something to say. And there was this nice quiet cousin, why can't you be more like her? Why can't you be? And throughout my life it was a comparison. My parents would say, why can't you be more like your friends? This one is doing that, you don't do it that way. And I realized that me being compared to so many people, I started patterning how I did things to be more like them, so that I would get the love and acceptance of family and friends. But then I was not being true to myself, and I was not being true to who I really was, which was this bubbly, loud, you will know when I'm in a party, I enjoy myself. I had Carnival a few weeks ago in St. Lucia, and I was out on the road and I was dancing and having fun. I love having fun, and I get tremendous joy being around people and connecting with them. And my connecting is hugging and laughing and chatting, and just, I want to know what's going on in your life, and I want to know what's going on in every aspect of it, and what's going on with your kids, and that's how I am with my patients too. And I'm at the stage in my practice now where I now have grandkids, because some of the patients are having children, and it's almost like they're my children.
Right.
It's been rewarding doing that, and I'm looking forward now to branching out into the fully integrative armor of my practice, and nurturing, being able to truly nurture and heal people on just deeper levels.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So Tanya, let's talk quickly about, because we're saying, we used to be these chatty kids. Like, I was the same. They would be like, stop talking so much. And I would turn around and start talking to the mirror. And not everyone is that chatty by nature. So we talk about finding your voice, but this is kind of a mythical concept. In which other ways can people not be expressing their true voice in their lives without knowing it?
I as a doctor, I'm telling you, it comes out as many physical ailments. And you had your growth in your throat, I had the cough. Some people are so closed off to their truth that they have the migraines, they have the joint pains. I would even say even heart disease as well, and the high blood pressure is as a release of not being, as a result of not being able to release this pent up truth. And I know it sounds kooky, and there are physical reasons for that, but I think we need to start looking deeper at the physical ailments in our lives, the things that erupt on us. You know, you get rashes, you get autoimmune diseases, and all of these things, I think, as the result of people not being able to articulate properly and being able to say what they, say what you want to say. There's a song by Sarah Bareilles called Brave, which is, it's almost like my anthem. Say
Me
what you want to
too.
say and let the word,
I jump in my rebounder with the
Right.
It
is an amazing, and if you listen to it, it's about speaking your truth and say and let the words fall out. Many people are not letting the words fall out, so they're staying inside and causing all kinds of illnesses.
Right. Do you have like a top 3 practical things people can start doing today to get in touch with their true voice?
So one of the things I tell people is to get quiet and start meditating. And the meditation doesn't have to be where you sit on a thing for hours and you cross your legs. You could just sit quietly in your bed on a morning. Just watch your breath. Just close your eyes and watch your breath. You know, we get up on a morning and we reach out for the phones, or we put on the TV, which I was really guilty of, and sometimes I still do. But you get up on a morning and you breathe. Just watch your breath 5 or 10 minutes, or even 7 minutes, depending, and get quiet. And the words that are deep down inside will slowly start to come out. The other thing is journaling, which I like to combine with the morning meditation. If you have the time, you can really see the words. Sometimes I journal and I go back, I'm like, I said that, and I had said it months and years ago. So the journaling on a morning, it doesn't have to be long, could be a little notebook, and you just write, after meditation, the words will come out. And for me, the other thing I tell people is move your body. The joy that I felt from belly dancing and bachata and Zumba, I found that when I started to move, joyful dance or whatever gets you going, you feel freer and you feel more confident. And once you're confident, then the words are easier they fall out, we literally fall out.
I totally agree. And you also move the energy and all those thoughts and feelings that may be stuck hiding somewhere. You start moving that without even knowing it.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much, Tanya, for sharing your experience.
Thank you for allowing me to use my words.
Yeah, of course. We will keep using them more and more each day, I'm sure. And thank you for all the beautiful work you do.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing this journey with me.
Take care, Tanya. Bye.
Bye.